She paid for her first-class seat like everyone else. But the moment she sat down, the flight attendant's glare cut through her like a knife. A forced smile, a lingering doubt. Then the humiliating words, loud enough for the entire cabin to hear. Passengers turned to stare. Whispers filled the air. But what the flight attendant didn't know, the black woman she just insulted wasn't just any passenger, and in mere minutes, she would regret every word. Because of this flight, it was about to take a turn she never saw coming. Stay tuned. This is a story you won't forget. For Dr. Olivia Carter, this flight was supposed to be just another routine trip. A leading medical researcher, she had spent the past week speaking at a global health conference, sharing groundbreaking work that could save lives. Now she was finally heading home, exhausted but satisfied. Dressed in a sleek business suit, she carried herself with quiet confidence as she stepped into first class. It wasn't a luxury for her. It was a necessity after years of grueling work. But the moment she took her seat, she felt it. The stares, the subtle shift in energy. And then the flight attendant approached. At first, it was just a lingering look. Then came the questioning glance at Olivia's ticket, the hesitant smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Something was off, and in mere moments it would become painfully clear. This was no ordinary flight. The flight attendant's voice was clipped, her expression unreadable. "Ma'am, I just need to confirm your seat assignment," she said, her eyes flicking over Olivia's ticket as if she expected it to be fake. Olivia felt the heat of a dozen eyes on her as nearby passengers glanced up from their seats, sensing tension. She kept her voice calm. "It's 3A, first class." The flight attendant's lips pressed into a thin line. "I see," she said, but made no move to leave. Instead, she lingered, her gaze sweeping over Olivia's designer bag, her neatly styled hair, and the poised way she sat, sizing her up and doubting her. Then came the humiliating words. "Are you sure this is your seat?" A sharp, collective silence filled the cabin. Someone cleared their throat. Olivia swallowed back the sting of anger. She had been here before. The unspoken challenge, the quiet interrogation that came only for people who looked like her. Calmly, she pulled out her boarding pass and handed it over. The attendant barely glanced at it before flashing a tight, forced smile. "You must understand, ma'am, we don't usually see misunderstandings like this." Misunderstandings. Olivia felt her pulse thrum, but she refused to let it show. She had spent years building herself into the woman she was today, respected, accomplished, and undeniably deserving of every seat in this world. A voice piped up from across the aisle. "Is there a problem?" A white man in a crisp business suit peered over the top of his newspaper. The flight attendant straightened. "No problem at all," she said quickly, stepping back. But Olivia saw it in her eyes, the momentary flicker of fear. And that's when she knew. This wasn't over. The flight attendant barely had time to process what was happening before the pilot stepped into the cabin, his expression tight. Behind him, a senior airline executive, who had been sitting just a few rows away, rose from his seat. Murmurs rippled through the first class as heads turned. The executive's gaze landed on Olivia, then shifted to the flight attendant. His voice was low but sharp. "Is there a problem here?" The flight attendant hesitated, suddenly aware of the growing attention. "No, sir, I was just, verifying her seat assignment." The words sounded weak, even to her. The executive's jaw tightened. "Dr. Olivia Carter is not just any passenger. She's one of our airline's top medical consultants. The same woman whose research helped save our CEO's life last year." A stunned silence fell over the cabin. The flight attendant's face drained of color. Her breath hitched as she darted a glance at Olivia, who sat poised, watching. Passengers shifted uncomfortably. Someone muttered, "Unbelievable!" The executive then turned to Olivia. "Dr. Carter, on behalf of this airline, I deeply apologize for this unacceptable treatment. The flight attendant took a shaky step back. I, I didn't mean, but it was too late, because the very woman she had doubted, the one she tried to humiliate, this was the reason this airline even existed today. The flight attendant stood frozen, her world unraveling before her eyes. The weight of her actions crushed down on her as the executive's words sank in. There was no excuse, no way to undo what had already been done. Minutes later, she was escorted off the plane. The murmurs from passengers followed her, whispers of disbelief and disapproval. By the time the plane landed, her dismissal was already in motion. But for Dr. Olivia Carter, this was nothing new. The silent doubts, the questioning glances, the subtle and not so subtle ways the world reminded her that, despite all she had achieved, she still had to prove she belonged. As she stepped off the plane, a young black girl approached her, eyes wide with admiration. "I want to be a doctor too," she whispered. Olivia smiled, her heart swelling. This was why she kept going. This was why she fought. Because for every humiliation, for every injustice, another young girl was watching, learning what was possible. But the question remains, how many more times will stories like this unfold before the world truly changes? If you enjoyed this story and found it thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful narratives. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in this situation? Your support helps bring more eye-opening stories to life. Where are you watching this video from? Let us know in the comments. Take care.